This episode of World Talk contains mature themes for mature audiences only. The opinions expressed by the guest and host are our own and don't represent any business or organization.
You ready?
Yeah.
Deeper? All right, cool.
can get
Deeper, you want to count me in or should I count myself in? Hello and welcome to World Talk, a show where we talk about everything and all things world related. I am excited, very excited to be joined by two awesome individuals. We have Roshana Hides over here and Miss Leanne Tibbetts. Did I say your name correctly?
Yes.
Because there's so many like Leannes, Lelanis, and then I always get confused.
That's okay. I answered to all of them. At this point, yeah.
You just know.
Yeah, same problem. Because, like, I've grown up and, like, everybody's got my name wrong at some point. It's either Rashawn, Roshane, Roshana.
They
Like,
don't
I've
see the A
gotten
at the end?
just variations of Roshana.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I A for effort. Like,
What's the worst one you've gotten?
Roshan. It was so close. I'm like, it's so close. You were there, but, like, yeah.
The last A is not silent.
No.
Funny people.
Yeah.
Well, I start the show off the same. I try to every way the same way. Leanne, we're going to start with you. Tell us where you were from, and if you could describe it in 3 words.
Where I from?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so I'm from Cayman, but more specifically, my family, where I spent most of my time, was actually Cayman Brac.
All right.
So even though I was raised in Grand Cayman,
Braca.
yeah,
Shout
I
out the
spent
Brac.
like my best times in Cayman Brac, and I would describe it as, is it word or just like something in general?
Just words.
Okay. All right. So definitely my safe space.
Mm-hmm.
Hot. They got different sun. Let me just tell you.
That is true. If you ever go up on the bluff, you literally are higher to the sun. But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know the third one, man. It was just peaceful.
Just peaceful.
Yeah, just peaceful. Yeah.
Nice. Roshana, what about you? Where are you from? And describe it in
Well,
however many words.
I'm a West Bayer, I'm a Bayer. I'm a proud Bayer. But I've grown up and I've lived there my whole life. So I would describe the West Bay that I know it as, although things have changed, but I'm gonna keep it to what I know it as. It's vibrant, it's friendly, and there's a sense of community. Not so much anymore, but that's the West Bay I grew up with.
Dang. We'll talk about the West Bay you grew up with and what it is now.
Yeah.
But before we get on all to that, you guys do pretty cool things in the community. Roshana, you want to start with you,
Yes.
what you're up to these days?
When I'm not working full time to pay the bills or whatever, I'm a part of Jewelry Box KY, where we do accessories, and we're a full-time online business, so we don't have a brick and mortar, but you're welcome to surf our site and see what we got. And we do deliveries, we do pickups. So yeah, check us out, and everything is affordable. And that's kind of the little gist that I got. I mean, I do more, but that's
That's the gist.
that's the main thing.
All
Yeah.
right. You want to tell us how Jewelry Box got started?
Really quickly. So it was me, my mom, and my best friend. And we were like, yo, the cost of living is high and I want to look cute, but I don't want to break the bank. And so we were like, we should just do our own business. Like, we just had the idea and we were like, okay, let's go for it. So that's like the gist of how Jewelry Box started. And that's what we try to stay focused on, is affordable pieces, different styles, different shapes, sparkly, tassely, everything. So we have a little something for everybody.
That's nice. Shout out your mom and your best friend.
Yes.
Leanne, what are you up to these days?
A whole heap. A whole heap. So
Same.
I just handed over my crown, so I have a lot of leeway at the moment, but I am in the process of forming my own foundation.
Ooh.
Yep.
Hey.
Snaps.
Yeah,
Snaps.
so it's
Snaps.
actually the Proverbs 31 Foundation, and it's going to be focused on woman empowerment, and it's going to be multi-generational women. So like from youth work straight up to older women, as well as I just got my trade and business approved for my consultancy. Yep. So I'm going to be doing aviation, safety, and security consulting, disaster mitigation, and debt collection.
Debt collection.
Yes, that is not me.
Just imagine Liani
I
knocking on
cannot-
people's
I'm not a
doors.
debt collector, but no, my boyfriend actually, he's really good at that. So
He's a really good debt collector.
really good. Like people just won't give him money. And I'm just like, all right, fine then. Yeah, so that's what I've been up to, and I just launched my own T-shirt collection.
Whoop, whoop.
These are actually new. I launched with the cream color. So I just got these. They are limited edition. There were only 4 of the cream, and there's only 21 of the black. So if you all want,
Sick.
check out leanitibbets.com
Ooh.
and cop yours before it's gone.
Per.
So the whites or the creams, there's probably only like 10 left.
Nice.
But like I said, the black, brand new, only 21. So when they're gone, they're gone. And I just want vouch for Jewelry Box. Bruh, she sorted me out when
You
I
know
was
I got
Miss
you.
World,
You
and she
know I got
literally
you.
had like such a vast variety of things. Like, make sure you check out jewelrybox.ky.
Oh, thanks.
That's very cool. What interested you to get into consulting?
Well,
And these are serious subject matters. I mean, disaster management.
yeah. So what actually prompted me, like, I work full time in aviation as a pilot. However, I don't feel, now that I have more time on my hands, I don't feel as utilized as I could be. Right? I have an entire degree on aviation management, and we covered topics like safety and security, and I'm very passionate about it. My dad also just retired from safety management in the aviation field. So I was like, like, Pops, like, if you want to come on board, by all means. So like him for sure, like, business continuity is his thing. So I think with him retiring, it kind of prompted it. But on top of that, every hurricane, like disaster mitigation, I'm on it. But I was in the cadet corps from the age of 14, and that was something that we did heavily. Every single disaster, including COVID, earthquakes, even a dump fire, like a vast set of disasters, I'm actually called in through the cadet corps into the National Emergency Operations Center, where we man the call center.
Oh wow.
So
Liani is
during COVID-
Barbie, okay? She does every career, literally. Pilot, disaster management, queen, like all
Yeah.
of the above, entrepreneur. Like,
Yeah, so I went from that led me into hazard management. So obviously the agency that mans all of the disasters. Then I ended up in the Coast Guard, where I got even more training, and then fast forward, I'm like, I really like this thing, I really like this. So that's what prompted that.
That's so cool. That's so cool. A life of service.
Yeah, service, definitely. Definitely. Can't even help myself.
I think in the motto for Rotary is like service above self. And I feel like you embody that.
Wow. It's interesting that you say that, because like most of like my bios is I want to be remembered as someone who valued service above self. That's how I want to be remembered.
Same.
she actually says that. So
Yeah.
the fact that you said that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like punch
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at the synchronicity.
Yeah, that's so
I
cool.
love it.
Well, we are here today because this country that we love so dearly, the Cayman Islands, is going through some growing pains. Is that a right word for it?
I mean, we could call it that, yeah.
Yeah, I guess one could definitely call it growing pains. But before we get into what these pains are, how they hurt us, and what the remedy looks like to ease this pain, what got you guys interested in politics in the first place? Roshana, let's start with you.
So it's no secret, Ralston Anglin is my uncle, right? So I was kind of,
He's your uncle?
yeah. So I was in
didn't know
these
they
did. I didn't know
circles. I was in these circles from the time I was very young. So I think he first joined office in like 2000s. I would have been very young then, because I was born in 96, millennial. Yeah, so I mean, I've seen him when he was campaigning, when he was actively involved in politics. So I've seen it from that perspective.
Like the street level.
Yeah, like
Like door to
on the
door.
ground. Yeah,
Shaking
and
the
like
hands.
seeing the work that he put in behind his campaigns and like what he was really trying to do for the community and like his focus on education. Like his big focus was on education for a long time in government. So that was my introduction, if you will. So fast forward into my teens and early 20s, I was like, yo, this politics thing, I don't know, boy. I don't know where the country going still. Because at that point, he had stepped away. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know who's in charge. I'm just scared at this point. So I decided to put my head in the sand for quite a few years. So, you know, late teens, early 20s, I was like, I just gonna ignore it still and just pretend like it's not my problem. But like we were saying earlier before we started recording, that only works if there's sand to keep your head in. And with the beaches literally eroding, I can't avoid it anymore. Like I just need to face what's happening and I need to be involved because it doesn't make any sense for me to sit and complain and expect change, but for me not to be a part of that change. So now I'm like, okay, I need to get back into this because clearly something is missing. We're all feeling it. Young Caymanians are worried for our futures. And if there's something that I can do, whether it's spread awareness, have conversations, that's kind of what I want to do now.
Nice. Leanne, what about you?
Well, I don't know if every Caymanian household is like this, but every single drive to school started off with Radio Cayman.
Shout out Radio
Hey.
Cayman. Your
Right.
voice, your choice. Love that
Literally,
station.
so that would have been my intro into it. Like I couldn't even avoid it, man. Like every single day on my way to school, my dad would have that booming, and of course he'd be arguing it with the radio, and I'm like,
Oh,
"Daddy,
trust me.
they can't hear you."
Hello. Those are the best arguments. Bye.
Listen, but yeah, so that's how it kind of started off. At least my intro to politics. Now, in terms of when I started to care,
Yeah.
kind of like how you got into that segue there was when I watched, I think it was the 2017 election where they were like, they had just got people elected and they were over there, then they were over there, then they were over there, then they were over here. And they were all over the place before they finally formed the house. That would have been the first time that I paid attention to what was happening. I wasn't
Yeah.
registered to vote yet, and because I was living in Florida. I was in university at the time. But after that, I kind of like, as Rashawn said, stuck my head in the sand. I was like, you know what? Just focus on your degree, finish that, get home, just in little Leonie's world. Till I get home and then no job for me. Coming into the realization that, you know, like, I'm not going to be able to live on my own like how I was before. I got to stay with my parents. Now I have no income.
Yeah.
It's like all these things is like, man, like, you think that when you go off to college and you come back home, especially when government has given you a
The
scholarship.
A
scholarship.
nice
Yeah.
scholarship too.
Yeah.
You think-
Which I used to.
I
Trust
had
me.
one too.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Big up scholarship.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah. So not discreet. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
But you know, like, but you think you gonna come back home to something, and there was nothing for me.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was I didn't really get into aviation till 3 years later.
Wow.
You know, so I actually ended up working with, and I didn't receive help. And it's not to say that I didn't reach out. I reached out to help from government, and it wasn't really like receptive. Anyhow, thankfully, civil aviation, shout out to them. They gave me an internship and they really took me in under their wing. Now, granted, I think they thought I was going to get a job as a pilot a lot quicker than I did. And I just remember like getting so depressed and just wanting somewhere different to go to. And I ended up going to, that's how I ended up bouncing from field to field. But thankfully, it helped me find my way and I'll bring myself back. When I got back, that was when the cruise port referendum was
Yes.
popping.
2019.
I got back in 2019 and we were in the thick of it.
Oh, yes,
And
we
we were
were.
also discussing the single-use plastic ban. And when I came back too, I had also gotten a minor in aviation environmental science. And I had actually won a research project for environmental, what was it? It was a research that I did on I had a hunch that if people realized that there were cost savings associated with being more environmentally friendly, that they would switch. So I did a study on that, and obviously it came back like, yeah, actually people will switch when they realize you can save money. So anyhow, I actually won an award for that. Like,
Hey.
I submitted it to some aviation competition, and anyhow, I was like, all right, cool.
What was the prize?
It was like, I think it was $500, which I split with my partner.
Hey, nice.
And then, of course, bragging rights. Yeah, so like we were in the thick of that, and I just remember the politicians at the time just not caring. But I got to see how much power we had as people. That the people of the Cayman Islands could literally use their voices, go door to door,
Facts.
and have a referendum.
Oh yeah.
Like that hadn't even, and this is something that hadn't even, I don't even know if it's the world or just a region, but it just wasn't done before. A people-led referendum. That was so impactful and powerful to me, and it just showed me like how much power that we had. And like things changed for me, and I really started to pay attention after that. Like, I was like, nope, we got to hold them accountable. Like, no, this is not it.
Enough's enough, people.
Enough is enough. Man, those are some interesting times. What got me into politics was working Cayman 27.
I remember that.
Going like you guys, I didn't understand politics. I didn't care for it. But something about like interviewing people and like their campaigns to like for leadership, I don't know. It was a moment like this life chose me. Like I need to be here. I need to be in this. And I haven't left politics since. I don't know. It's an interesting field. Interesting field. But I was there during the referendum times. I was guest host of Cayman Crosstalk, so I was right there.
Oh, you were in the thick of it.
Meanwhile, I out there in the protest.
It was man, those, and I completely agree. I think it really showed the country if we unite, we can have the strongest
That
voice
part.
anyone has ever seen.
That's the part.
Unity boy.
I remember the CEO of Royal Caribbean was on Crosstalk, and Woody DaCosta. It was the CEO of Royal Caribbean, his right-hand man, this engineer, that doctor that was going to move the corals, and I want to say someone else. And Woody debated every one of them back to back. Just him. Just armed with his facts, and just beat them all. He used the Royal Caribbean's SEC filings against him. Like, how do you even compete with a man explaining to you your finances? It was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. But
love a good debate.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I love a good debate for sure.
And that's what got me into not so much like politics, but also like community and like community work as well. Politics is one side to it, but community involvement, it's a great passion. Yeah, so with all that said, we are under half a year away. Crazy, right? Half a year away from the general election. A lot of people have not declared yet. We're going to get a whole bunch of fly-by-nights. But my starting question is, does voting matter?
100%.
Yeah?
I mean, you want to go first? Or you want?
Go ahead. Okay.
So I made notes because I want to make sure that I was very clear when I spoke to especially the younger people of this country. So just for a second, consider the countries that literally do not have the freedom to cast a vote. Like they have no say in what their government does or doesn't do, right?
Yep.
We have regional people, regional neighbors that this applies to, international neighbors. Just think about how those people feel, first of all. What they would do to be in our shoes, to be able to have a voice, right? And so I also want to address the young women, particularly who aren't registered.
Side-eye.
Think about the women who fought for your right to vote back in the 1950s in this country, right? They literally got together and said, enough is enough, and we deserve to vote. So you should embrace the freedom that they fought so hard to get for you. Especially the women, particularly. And when it comes to voting, there's going to be candidates who aren't so good and then some who are really not so good. And so I use the bus analogy a lot.
Ooh, what's the bus analogy?
So we all have very specific places that we want our country to be at, right? We want very specific things to happen. But like a bus, the bus don't drop you by your house, right? So you have to take the bus that gets you the closest to where you want to be. So you have to think of voting. You have to think about politics in that sense. You are never going to find the perfect candidate that does everything that they say that they're going to do, and et cetera, et cetera. But you have to try to get closer to where you want to be. And voting is the only way to do that.
Interesting. That's a good analogy.
That was a great
I never
analogy.
heard that one before.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because, boy, you could really unpack that with the direction of the bus.
Correct.
You know, what neighborhoods or what areas are we going to stop at first, and so on and so
Yep.
forth. And that means like what are the main priorities compared to
Yep.
what else? Wow. There's a lot in that bus
Yeah.
analogy.
Yeah. And when that was first, I don't even remember. I think I saw it online because I'm always online, and my algorithm feeds me a lot of politics lately. And so when I saw it, I was like, this makes so much sense, because we're not voting for the exact perfect things that we want. Like no candidate ever in the history of ever is going to be perfect and does everything that everybody wants to do. There's no way. There's going to have to be compromise. So you have to decide who's going to get you closer to where you want to be, what future you want for your country. And the only way to do that is to vote. You can't just sit on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Not when those women fought for you, not when people in the world literally do not have a chance.
Yeah. I mean, aside from that, like, we all feel the effects of the decisions that our leaders make. Like,
Yep.
you can't sit here and tell me as a young Caymanian, I mean, if you got it, you got it. Good for you. But you can't sit here as a young Caymanian and tell me that you're not struggling to put food on the table, that you're not struggling to purchase a home, that you're not fighting off work permit holders and employers who hiring work permit holders instead of promoting you into positions that you really should have in the first place. Like, if you have a problem with all of that, you have to vote. Literally, political leaders will tell you, like, when you come to them with a problem, they will ask you, are you registered to vote? Heaven forbid you say no. They don't care what you have to say after that. They do not business.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah.
Like, looking back to, like, when I came back home, at the time they were changing the retirement age. You know how upset I was? Because I was like, I done can't get into this job. And now I worse can't get into the job because they just added 5 years to them. You know, but that's because those age brackets were voting.
Right.
They didn't care what I had to say. They didn't care because, we'll get into that, but because the younger voters, they were not
They
represented.
wasn't showing up.
We're
Yeah.
not showing up.
Yeah.
We're not showing up. We're not registered to vote.
Nope.
So they don't care what we have to say.
What
so
is it,
you
Phil?
have to-
4%?
Yeah.
4%.
That's the figure I've been hearing. 4% of 18 to 24-year-olds are registered to vote. Why do you guys think that is?
I have some theories, but I don't know if you want to go first.
I kind of think back to, like, when I was that age, and I think I just didn't really care. Like, it didn't hit me yet. But like I said, when it hit me, I was like, oh no, and I know type of playing. But until you feel the effects of it,
Yeah.
and there's, to some degree too, it's like, what's the point? Like, there's a level of hopelessness, because I
Yeah.
know that there's friends that I have that refuse to vote because, you know, maybe they haven't heard the bus analogy, but in their mind, you know, they just like, what's the point? Like, they're not gonna do nothing for me. Like, that's not gonna change my life. They just, and what hurts, oh man, like, what hurts me so bad is they just pick up and leave.
Just leave the country.
I have so many friends who pick up and left. They went away, got their degrees, did whatever they had.
Yeah, they
came
just
back,
moved.
They tried so hard to help, came on, and they were pushed away, left. They left.
This is the brain drain.
They
Yeah.
left.
Yeah.
Sure,
All
that
that talent.
pains me.
Yeah. Because to your point, they went to study, you know, years of school. You get smart, you come back, you want to help your country. Country can't even help you.
They won't even allow you to use the tools that you gained overseas
Yeah. That they,
for their benefit.
yeah.
Yeah.
No.
What say you, Roshana?
So definitely, I mean, to echo your point, they feel like their vote doesn't matter. And I can understand that, because I felt that way for a long time too. And I think I specifically felt that way because of the one man, one vote system, which we kind of talked about. Because every time I go to vote, it's literally the same two people. So like, if I'm not happy with either of them, I just not gonna vote. Like, I'm thinking, you know, as a young person, that's how a lot of people feel, right? So
Yeah.
I can understand that. in that sense. And so there's a lack of also candidates that we want to vote for. First of all, we
Yeah.
need more faces
Yeah.
across the different electoral districts. So that's part of it. It's like their vote doesn't matter because it's the same old people kind of thing. I've heard that a lot.
Oh, I'm sure, because in some cases, it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't, and it's
Yeah.
like in these trying times, do I really want to try something new? Like I know this guy's.
Well, we tried something new 4 years ago, and
Oh yeah.
that didn't
packed.
really work out. But anyway,
We sure did try.
We did try.
we tried a thing.
I guess that goes into yes, people say yes, vote, but I think, but on the other side of the coin is like, yo, we need good candidates.
Yeah.
Right.
You
And so
know?
that's what I was alluding to. It's like, yeah, you need to vote, but also we need to have candidates who are willing to step up to the plate. And I think from what I've been seeing and hearing on the streets, we're going to be getting some plenty new faces
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah, I'm
so
hearing the
that's
same.
very encouraging.
Let's take these new faces that are scheduled to come out next year. Wouldn't you like to see them this year? Start to get to know them a little better.
Well, some are starting.
Probably more so low key. They're probably going door to door right now versus like
Just
Right.
their area.
let me advertise on social media. If
I
you
get
see what
you.
I'm saying.
I see what
Yeah.
you're saying.
And the reason I bring that up is because Julie Hunter has just declared her intention to be a candidate online. So I saw her
I saw that.
Instagram profile come up, and she's going to be running against the incumbent, which is Mr. Makiba Bush. So
As a West Bay voter, do you know Miss Julie Hunter?
I do.
How is she as a person? I've
I
never heard
find
of
her
in
to
my
be
life.
extremely warm and friendly and very caring. We're distant cousins, so I kind of know her in that sense. I mean, every West Bay almost family. Like, come on. But like the work that she does in terms of like her women's ministry, and like she gives back to the community. So she's been involved in the community for literally decades.
Yeah.
So I'm happy for her.
So she's well known. I've never heard of her in my life.
I mean,
But
maybe in
I'm
West
one
Bay
person,
as
you know?
well, also, and then like she does a lot of women's ministry work, so maybe it's just more of that. And she is also older. I think she's like in her 60s, I want to say. So she is an older person as well. But yeah, I think she's gonna be a good.
Contender.
Yeah, I mean, just somebody new, man.
Yeah.
But with what you're saying, doing work in the community, I think that's a great start, because a lot of these fly-by-nights, you never heard of them. Nobody's
Right.
heard of them.
Right.
And
then they
have
just
the
show up.
audacity to ask for a vote.
Yeah.
But at least somebody who's been like, yo, we know who she is, and they've known, like the community knows where she is and
Yeah.
what she stands
She's
for
done work,
for
yeah.
decades.
Yeah, she been
You know what I mean?
doing the
It
work,
matters.
man. Yeah, so I'm like, good for her.
Yeah.
But I think that's one thing that we miss is that leadership starts with service.
Yep,
Because you're
good
I-
leadership.
Go, yeah, absolutely.
That part.
Because you are there to serve the people of this country. That is what a leader does.
Ooh, can we say it louder for the people in the back?
Literally, like, and I mean, even if you can, I mean, you know me by now. Like, I can't talk without bringing up God. Like, Jesus himself came here and washed his disciples' feet. If God himself came to this earth, what makes you think, as a leader of this country, you're not serving your people? Come on, no.
Snaps.
Have you ever seen a wolf pack? The leader of the wolf pack is in the very
back.
back, making
Yeah.
sure no man is left behind.
Yep.
I don't feel like we have a lot of those. I feel like we have a lot of like front showmanship. Look at me.
Yeah, I mean,
ego,
that's the thing. Like,
rather than good
yeah.
old service.
Yeah, I mean, power is a very interesting thing.
Yeah.
People say power corrupts, but
It make you more
And-
who you are.
Absolute power corrupts.
that part,
Absolutely.
I actually saw a take recently where it was like, power just allows you to be who you are. So if you weren't a good person to start out with, if you have power,
Yeah.
hey, party time.
Yeah. And that takes on any role, like whether that be in your job, your home life, like your titles, like whatever your titles are, it takes that on.
Yeah.
We just happen to be talking about politics.
Right, in
Yeah.
this application of
Yeah.
power, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking about new candidates and whatnot, but let's talk about what are the issues you are seeing that are impacting you guys today? What are your top three? Because I'm sure there's many. What are your top three issues impacting K-Man?
You want to go first?
Boy, where do we start? I think the main ones I've already kind of touched on, which is definitely the housing crisis.
Oh yes.
So the top three for me would be the housing crisis, the environmental impacts that we're seeing to date, as well as the public transport issue. We seem to be of this misguided or illusion that we can build our way out of traffic. That is not the case. That is
not
very
the
much
case.
not the case. And
Oh,
I say
Jesus.
public. I emphasize public transport because many times I sit in traffic and I look around and most cars only have one driver.
Yep.
And furthermore, I know so many people. I have a vast amount of friends, right, from all walks of life. And so many of them say, listen, Leonie, I never drove in my life until I came to this country. I just want to get on a bus, but I can't even catch it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Have you guys ever taken the bus?
I have.
I did it like twice. And I
I've done it a couple. I've done it a good handful of times,
didn't
especially
like it,
like
I'll be
as a
honest.
child.
Yeah.
$2 bus. You know, can't go wrong with a $2 bus.
Yeah, my daughter don't watch this because my daughter didn't even want me catch the bus. When I caught the bus, my daughter would never. I was hanging out with one of my friends, and that way she like, well, we got to catch the bus, and I was like, all right, well, just don't tell Larry. Literally.
Poor Larry.
What was Larry's fear of the bus?
He just saw like how they drove, like they drive
yeah.
so wide.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not only that, but as a father, you know, like you don't know who's on there, like I don't know
Right.
what the case was, but yeah,
I understand.
But aside from that, yeah, so definitely public transport needs to be. We need a public transport because I can't call what we have now a public transport system.
What would you call it?
Might as well be a taxi service. Might as well be, honestly, the way how they operate right now. But we don't have a set. This is the stop. Yeah, this is the stops that we make. These are the times that we make them. So you know you want to arrive to work at a certain time instead of playing Mr. Games. Like, you know?
Do you live in the Eastern Districts by any chance?
No. No.
There's a gas station in Savannah, and people would always get the bus by it, but they put a sign saying like no more bus stop. So those same Savannah bus people.
Oh, the Rubus.
Yeah, the Rubis.
Oh, okay.
But they just park a little. They don't go by the sign anymore. They go maybe 10 yards before the sign. It's like the sign, you didn't do anything. You just
hot
moved
mess.
them a little further up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But aside from that, definitely the environmental impact and everything is connected.
Yep.
Everything is connected because as a result of the public transport issues, we're now tearing through mangroves to build a road, right?
Hello.
Again, we're building our way out of traffic. Just fix the actual problem instead of creating band-aids after band-aids. Literally, the decline
Take
in
us to
our
church, girl.
environment- the decline in our
Take us to
environment is
church.
literally now causing like all kinds of mental health problems. You know, like I can't imagine how Rishana feel growing up next to the beach and all of a sudden it gone.
Girl.
What?
Yeah.
West Bay now, I get so annoyed when I have to drive home because I'm like, this is not a country that I grew up in, bro. Like, at all. At all.
Before we get into your
Top three.
what was West Bay like when you were growing up to what it is like today?
I mean, like I kind of hinted at when we first started the conversation, that sense of like community and vibrancy, like it just became very commercialized, very overdeveloped. And so like at one point I used to be able to drive on the very, very old West Bay Road and you could see the water on your way to town. Like just stuff like that. And like even the beach where I used to actually go with my family, right behind the 4-way. I would like climb trees, like climb the sea grape trees with my family. And like, I even saw a turtle hatch eggs on that beach. Like I had a lot of really good memories in West Bay in terms of like the beach, the environment, like the community itself. And like now if you go to that beach, there's a giant seawall. I try not to cuss. There's a giant seawall there. And I'm like it just this not a West Bay that I know. Like it's not the beauty. Like it used to be so beautiful. Yeah.
Dang.
Lots of luxury condos and
Yeah,
the one that went up right by 4-way now, the Sands or whatever. I just look at it and I'm like, okay, all right. No offense if you live there, but it's just I'm like
It's changing the face.
it changes the face of
where
the
you grew
entire
up.
district, the entire feel of the island. Like it just doesn't match. It's like a sore thumb. It's just sticking out like a sore thumb.
From what it was to where it's
Right.
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nuts. You want to share with us your top 3 issues?
Yes. Top 3. Agree with Leonie in terms of everything is interconnected. What I would say number 1 in terms of everybody's current feeling is cost of living. I think we can all agree.
Oh, yes.
It rough in these streets. And so a part of that then would be housing crisis, the rental market, the lack of regulation in the rental market, I should say, is a big thing. Because you got people charging thousands of dollars for, I don't know, a car. Like something the size of a car. Like it's crazy. So that's number one, cost of living. Number two, so the major projects, the infrastructure. So like the cruise stuff, the roads, like all that stuff. We need to address it because we've been kicking this can down the proverbial road for literally decades.
You want to, my favorite can amongst all these cans is when CUC was like, all right, listen, we may need to do some blackouts this summer. Hopefully not, but maybe.
Ooh,
And
you
then
get me
Alfred
heated
was
now.
like, here's a New York Times bestseller saying it's not our fault. And it's like, wow.
Yeah. So I put major projects / infrastructure. So like we need to have proper infrastructure, and that includes public transportation. That includes increasing things like our actual, like things that benefit the community. So like better hospitals, better schools. Like there was articles that came out that Caymanian children couldn't even get spaces in the class.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
hello? Are we in a developed country? Or
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What news organization?
I think that was Compass, I want to say.
I'll
But
check that out.
it did come out quite a few months ago. But there was a few parents that wrote in to say that their children couldn't get into, like, I think it was like year one. Like it was like primary school age, where they literally they did not have enough space for Caymanian children to go to school. So I'm like, we just need to build up our social programs, our infrastructure programs in general, because that just feeds into everything, right? If you can get to work and get to the districts easier, that's gonna solve a ton of issues. So, and then third, and I guess the overarching issue really is the lack of planning.
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
a generational issue, because it's not just the current politicians that have failed to come up with a development plan for this country.
There is none.
There is no development plan.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't know what we're doing. We don't know where we're going because there's no plan.
Yeah. Just a bunch of cracks.
We
a
just
bunch of
all
Band-Aids.
just vibes. Just like it just vibes. Like nobody don't know what we're doing because there's nobody has sat down properly to be like, this what we're doing. This what we want to see within 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, come on now.
Do you think they look at something and go, this is the vibe? No, this is not the vibe. Just vibe check every
Listen, the vibe / money. But anyway,
yeah. Well, it's all those fees, a lot of fees involved. It's a good source of government revenue.
so yeah.
You know, I want to go back to this bus analogy because it's all about direction, right? And I put independence versus party because independent candidates, they all want to go their own way.
Correct.
Independence. They're independent. They're free as a bird. And a party is like, no, a group of us, we're going in one direction together. And you know, it's funny what you were saying about with this, with having no plan. It's like going back to the bus analogy. What route do you even take?
Where the bus going because we don't even know.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just,
We try and go east and all of a sudden we in West Bay. How we get here?
how did we get here? Going back to a plan, is that something you would like to see? One thing I cannot stand about elections is like, if you vote for me, I'm going to do this, or like, you're going to see this. And it's like, well, what can we do before we elect you? Like, let's see, for example, a rough draft of a national development plan. That's what I would like to see from candidates rather than
That's
just a
true.
whole bunch of like, I'm going to do this and fight for you. Like,
Yeah.
cool, but
Yeah.
let's see
Yeah.
a plan.
Well, I mean, I have some opinions, but I don't know, Leonie. If you
I
have any.
1,000% agree with what you said in terms of like having a plan, and that's one thing. And I've been grateful to have seats with many of our leaders, and every time that comes up, they're like, well, we don't have a plan. And I was like, well, fix it. You know, like
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
like, come on now,
Come
like
together.
come on, like really, like this is ridiculous because they bringing up all these issues, and we move from issue to issue to issue to issue, and I'm like, pause. Where's the plan? You have a problem over here because over here not fixed, and over here not talking to the one in the middle. Like, so like 1,000% I agree with you, and that is something, you know, like that I would like to see in terms of like, all right, these are the issues that we're gonna cover, but this is how we're gonna communicate. These are how these issues are gonna communicate. But you can't, because you can't fix over here, and then all of a sudden over here bleeding on to over here. Like
Right.
No, absolutely not. Like, get it together, guys.
Yeah.
Do you think that's
Yeah.
what a party offers rather than independence? Because
Absolutely.
it's like, hey,
Yeah.
these are the issues, and we together,
Yeah.
he's gonna, you know, hold the wrench.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, you know, I've got
Absolutely.
the socket.
Yeah, 'cause if there's
Absolutely.
one thing I learned from this last election, it's like, actually, we need a party. We need a party. A different party, please. A different party, like different parties,
Right.
who are going to address these issues
Right.
and collaborate on them.
Right.
Like, so we know what we're signing up for.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Because you can't form a government by yourself. So you need a team of people
Yep.
who are in agreement with you
Yep.
that we are going to do this approach to this problem. Otherwise, we gonna end up with what we had for the last 4 years. Like, no disrespect to anybody in government. I'm sure it's a very,
Yeah.
very taxing, difficult, stressful job to be at that level.
Very much so.
But also, you have to be accountable to the people of this island.
I look at it like a company, and we are the shareholders, and it's like, player, reports are going down. Like, what are you doing? What are you gonna do about
Yeah.
it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think they recognize it too, because most of them, like, now that you speak to, you see them seeking, like, all right, we need farmer party. We need a farmer party, and
Yeah.
absolutely, because
So-
we need to be in agreement, because you literally hear them like, well, I can't do nothing because so and so won't approve it, and I feel
Right.
like I alone in the house. And
Right. But that's because you went in with all these different opinions. So like, I mean, we tried it.
Yeah.
We all
Yeah.
wanted something different.
Yeah,
we
we
were
all-
sick
yeah,
of the
absolutely.
two options that we had at the time.
Yep.
4 years ago. We tried a thing. The thing
Yeah.
never worked out.
Pack.
So let's go back to the drawing board and let's see what these people are gonna come up with for 2025. I'm very interested to
Yeah.
see the different parties and the different iterations of coalitions and partnerships that you're gonna see coming up, because I'm sure it's gonna
And
be
their agenda.
very and their agendas, their respective agendas. So
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens too. I can't stand the independent movement. I'm personally sick of it. And with one man, one vote, I'll speak for me. I'm a Boddentown West voter, but I am officially an undecided voter because I'm not the biggest fan of Chris's tenure. That he was great in opposition. He's a great legislator. Not a big fan of him being a representative, which is why I'm an undecided voter. But like, he's just like Lone Island, you know, in opposition just by himself. And I messaged him when the split happened, when the four ministers left. And I was like, Chris, you know, this would be a good time to, like, you know, step up for the country. He's like, nah, man, I'm cool. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to read the message. But I was just thinking, like, really, dog? Like, me, I'm a person that, like, I love when, like, people rise to, like, challenges.
Yeah.
And for him to be like, no, I'm just going to, they're cool. I give them my support. And it's like, so last time Chris had an opponent that a glass of water could have beaten, he was so bad. And I think that's why Chris had such a high vote. But I would like to see Boddentown West have some real competition, because I don't want to be forced to vote for Chris because he has bad competition. I'd actually like, you know, I want to have some heat in the district, so to speak.
yeah.
Yeah. But with one man, one vote, he can do that because he's isolated in that one area. But
Right. There's literally no other option.
no other option.
So that's the thing about the one man, one vote. You literally can end up with just one candidate
Yeah.
in a spot. Like, that's extremely dangerous.
And not only that, let's say you're elected, right? And we're running against you. You can get 40% of the vote and still win because we're going to split that 60%.
Yeah. Yep.
You know? So it's
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was young enough to remember when you could vote for 4 people one time
Vote
in
straight.
Westby. Vote straight. That was the thing, boy. Mark said, listen to me. You gotta vote straight. Vote UDP. Vote straight. Listen, that's stuck in my head. Core childhood memory. Like, vote straight was the thing, right? But like, also, that just gave you more options in terms of your candidate pool. You could vote for the entirety of your district. So you weren't just stuck with literally one person.
Yeah, and that's what
Like-
I want, because going back to Boddentown, let's from Savannah, Newlands, all the way to Bottom Down East. You have all that accountability.
Correct.
Right? But now you're just in your little isolated pockets. If you're
Yeah.
good with 30-40% of the people, you're fine.
Yeah.
You're safe. But in the whole district, those numbers can't fly.
Yeah.
That was one thing that I spoke to Roshana before, coming here. I was like, one of my concerns is we have so many, at least I've heard rumors of so many emerging parties. It's like, man, like, what if it comes down to exactly what you said? Like, there's this candidate who we don't want, but then these new candidates come in and they split the vote, and who we don't want gets back in.
I will say this, looking at voting, most candidates lose their first race. So, for example, Kathy, she ran against Catherine Ebanks Wilkes. She ran against Captain Eugene in 2017, lost. Ran against him in 2021, won. And I think the people of West Bay got to know her in 2017, got to see her in those 4 years, and then went, she is serious.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Same with Isaac, same with Jay, same with Kenneth. Kenneth lost his first race, Chris lost his first race, and so on and so forth. So I think if you lose your first race, but you stay committed, stay working in your area,
active,
your people will say, this is just my opinion, they'll look at you and go, he isn't one of these fly-by-nights that come around every 4 years like, yeah, he came around, yeah, he lost, but he's still here.
Yeah.
Come around again, you name, you know what, I will give that guy another shot or something like that.
Yeah.
So I would say don't get discouraged on your first loss.
Definitely not.
Keep going.
Yeah. And I'd love to see a lot more millennial people running for office. Even, throw in some Gen Z. Why not?
Why not?
I mean, when you look at the average age of our government, it doesn't really... It's hard for it to reflect the needs of the future when you're literally just governing for the now. Because you're thinking about the now, right? You're thinking about things in your age perspective, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. And in a 4-year cycle.
Right.
It's like, I got to get reelected.
Right. So that's the thing of it.
And I think that's the biggest problem. They're always focused on re-election versus the actual needs of the country.
Solving the problems.
Yeah.
But hold on.
They would get elected if they solved the problem.
But the thing,
If I don't solve it, I got nothing to run on. I was so close. Just 4 more years. I'll fix the road.
Well, yeah, we definitely need to go back to the party system.
I believe so, too.
And just them having like a specific... Well, I remember the days where they used to have the manifestos. They had a physical paper copy that they would hand out to people to be like, here's what we want to do. And like...
Read about us.
Yeah, and it would show them like their little bio and this is the niece of Ross and England. So I saw these things and I'm like, oh, this is so interesting. But to see that they were all united under the same goals. So you knew, okay, if this is the party that I want to elect, I elect all of them in my district. When they go to the, House of Parliament, whatever they used to call it, because it keeps switching names.
Yeah. I still call it the LA.
Right. It would LA, now Parliament. That at least, okay, they're not gonna be fighting about what they want to do because they already agreed on that prior to getting in there. So there's no tit for tat and this one doing this thing, and I don't know.
And I think that's what we'll definitely get into the fallout, but I think that was part of the fallout is just so many chefs. Wait, no. So many chiefs.
Cooks in the kitchen.
Too many cooks in the kitchen. Not enough. I don't know. But too many cooks in the kitchen. I'm not going to add on.
No cohesion.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, my top 3 issues is cost of living. Because it's like, I went to go buy Neosporin, and it's like, $15. And
Not
it's like,
Neosporin.
You think
$15?
It's like, you think they increased their product? It was like, we're going to put in some anti-aging because of the price increase. No.
Well, okay.
It's a small little tube, and it's like,
So
man, I'm just going to steal aloe vera from a neighbor.
I will say, I will say, in terms of cost of living, it always been bad in Cayman, to be fair. We always gonna have the worst of it because we import literally everything.
Yeah, literally.
It's particularly bad now because of the global sphere of things. So it's not just like if the Cayman government fault. Could they be doing more to ease it? I think perhaps yes, perchance.
Perchance.
Particularly like the housing. I think that is
Right.
one thing
Right.
they can work on. That is one thing. And I know they tried, but then all of a sudden it kind of died off.
These plans fall flat and they fail to deliver on what they were working on.
Yeah.
Why do you think they fall flat?
The lack of support within Parliament.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, if this person wants to work on healthcare
Yeah.
and this person wants to work on housing and this one wants to work on, I don't know, tourism or whatever,
Yeah.
the priorities just aren't there. So you're not able to actually function as a unit, as
Yeah.
a team. And that's why they had this whole thing about the government within a government. And
Yeah. Yep. And that's
apparently
what
it had looked really messy.
everything
Yeah.
goes back to the lack of unity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything was
It was
back.
messy.
No more independence.
And I can't even say nothing. They probably all had the best intentions,
Of course.
but they just running in different directions.
Right. Right.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But going back to what we were saying, like a party, it's already pre-established. Like we're gonna do this, locked in.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So I'm interested to see the names they come up with now, because McKeeva done got about 5 on the hip belt. UDP, what it one that would
Oh
just
no, it was UDP. Then they rebranded themselves to the CDP.
Right.
Then they lost everybody.
Right,
Do you
right,
remember
right.
that in 20s?
Yeah.
What was that? Where were you in 2017?
I was still away at school because I came back in 2018.
Fair.
Yeah.
Oh, and I asked because since you were so close to that party was eviscerated in
Yeah.
the 2017 election.
Yeah.
They lost none of their new candidates. They had a whole Georgetown team, a whole Boddentown team. They all lost.
But
Mac-
they had lost the trust of the people though, because of everything that had happened with Mac. We're not getting to that, but yeah. I mean, there was no faith in the people in that party at that time.
Dang. Yeah,
That's what I gathered essentially.
yeah, because it eviscerated.
Yeah.
After that, they were all independents.
Yeah.
They were no longer CDP members.
Yeah.
Right,
What
if you-
what the most current one? UPM. Well,
UPM. Well, see, there's still a bunch of independents. It's just some. It's
Right.
like a loose.
Right.
Like a loose social club.
they're just
really.
like gonna combine the words Democratic, United, People, Movement, Progress. Like they're just gonna like throw words at a wall and just like come up with party names. I want to see like what they
Throw
got.
it out of the little bowl.
Yeah.
I was about to say, you think there's a bunch of words like united, and then they just pick out through like, hey, this works.
I mean, at this point, yeah, they just gotta be like, okay, cool. What do we call ourselves?
Hello and thank you for listening to World Talk. World Talk is a cooler show that's hosted on an even cooler platform, Smith Road Publishing. Here is a clip from their latest episode of the Link Up Podcast.
Into pretty much everything. But I will say this season, I'm looking for stability. What I've seen in the past 4 years is the opposite of that. And I think it's the direct contributor to that is we haven't had a true, unfortunately, because, you know, I've been against it, Chris, you're going to call me out, but we need parties. I'm not voting for a candidate that is not committed to a party.
Lana?
Like I was 100. Chris will tell you.
Who's in Lana's seat tonight? Who is
I've grown.
this?
I've grown as a voter. I've grown. So what I've seen in the last 4 years has just demonstrated to me the importance of stability, the importance of, like, many have mentioned on the platform, unity, and this isn't to echo any specific party's sentiments. This is just me speaking on what I've seen in the last 15 years. So I've gone from being an enthusiastic voter to barely wanting to vote this season. And that's not meaning I'm not going to do my civic duty. But to the point of, for example, I'm hearing my 18-year-old son coming home and saying, I'm not registering to vote because I don't want to go to jury duty. Why? So it's a narrative we have to change. We have a lot of work to do. So what I'm looking for is stability, like I said, and just perspective. Like, I'm not here for the fancy words. I want to see a manifesto signed by everybody that aligns with the things that I'm aligned with. There are certain things that I found disappointment in. For example, and I'm going to speak frankly, we've had, for the first time, a female minister in health, for example. And I have yet to see any changes being made in, for example, feminine products being provided for free for girls in school. These are simple things that could be done with partnerships with the big providers like Progressive, Foster's, and those people. Simple things that could be done without even direct funding from the government. So what I'm looking for are thinkers, people that are willing to step outside the box, outside the norms, because we have so many social issues right now that impact children in social services. I don't care about the businesses. I don't care about the people that are already making money. I care about the social issues we're experiencing. I am in a corporation right now. I am directly seeing the fruit of our education system. It's in shambles. And I'm speaking as a Caymanian. I'm embarrassed. And that, like, I don't want to ramble. Like, Vic, I know what you were doing. I know what you were trying to do, but
I'm letting you
it's
cook.
just like, I just need to see change. So right now I'm approaching the new election with an open mind.
Okay.
For the first time, because before I've aligned myself with people that I respect, that I just know will produce, but unfortunately what I've seen is those people need people that buy into their vision. And what I've found with the alliances is what we find are people that are aligning for a paycheck and not for the greater good, which, as Reagan kindly pointed out, is Cayman. Like, hearing you speak about our island and putting us on a platform, putting us global, and just having that pride just spoke to me, because I'm someone that travels a lot for work. I sit on a lot of international flights, and hearing people speak about Cayman in comparison to other Caribbean islands, I'm proud. But then when I sit in my island and I see what we're experiencing with the lack of unity, the lack of vision, the lack of foresight, the lack of grown adults willing to work together for the greater good. So when I say I want to go back to the times of Truman Bond and them people when we had one man, one vote, because they were forced to work together. The party system doesn't always work, but right now I need a party system, because what I've seen in the last 8 years,
Hasn't been it.
instability.
Okay.
And it's been at a disservice of our children. I've had 2 children that have gone through the education system, and luckily I'm fortunate enough to send my kids to private school. But a lot of my family are not. And I went through public school. And when I went through the public school system, we were at the top of the game. So what I've seen that turn into is just, again, like I said, disheartening and embarrassing to me.
What district you representing?
I don't represent a district.
That's good.
I'm from Georgetown.
I was gonna
I
say
hail
so.
from Georgetown Central. So I have a lot of insight into that area and what I'd like to see change, but unfortunately that's no longer where I vote.
Lana,
I'd love to vote there, but I
Lana,
can't.
so, Lana-
I'd love to see politicians run also in the constituencies where they live.
Hello.
no, let me stop you there, because
No, I just want to say something. I don't know if it the drink or the passion Lana speaking with, but I feel like she almost made me cry just now. That's why
know,
I'm
I
glad
was
you
gonna say the
interrupted her.
same thing, yo.
No, dead serious. Like the
okay,
passion.
it's
emotional
passion
just
because-
now. But I'm a
Like, you
stop
can
her. I'm
tell.
a stop her there. Go
Like,
finish.
no, I was just saying you can tell like this is something very important.
So-
So,
No, I'm
that's why I
frustrated.
love Lana coming.
So
on,
that's
you
why I
know,
wanted
like-
to say.
And if you could rate, shout out notes, if you can rate UPM out of 10, what would you give them and why?
I would give them a unrated because they didn't really do anything.
I see it.
No, okay. Let me preface that by saying I'm sure that they tried
Yeah.
to do things. I'm sure that they came at it with the best intentions. I think in the end, most of them that are in government, they genuinely do care in some capacity. But ultimately, I just wasn't really impressed by the various coalitions of independents. It just didn't really work. This is our 3rd iteration of government
it
in
is.
4 years, bro.
Yeah.
I've never seen this much instability in my life.
Yeah.
Like, so like no shade, but it just,
it didn't work. It just didn't work.
yeah, I'll give it an unrated.
It's better than a 0. Well, dang. It's
No,
worth
because
it.
I wouldn't say 0 because 0 just means that they really didn't like try at all.
Yeah.
I would just say unrated because
You can't rate the performance.
I can't rate the performance.
Well,
I can't do it.
can't rate it.
Sorry.
You don't have to apologize to me. You feel the same way, unrated?
Teen Rashana. All the way.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean, I like some of what they wanted to do and what they were saying, but again, just the lack of like a shared vision for the direction, the direction of the bus,
Yeah.
where we going, where we stopping first. Okay, that just wasn't there. So
Well, I have a different, I guess, more of a optimistic. I give them like a 7 because it just went like things were going rocky, and then like I don't know, the tire went off the bus, but like they kept going, like they didn't give up.
A for effort.
A
Oh,
for
definitely. A for effort.
And because of that,
100%.
they have my support. Because I don't want to see. I know things are bad, but like I just don't want to see them fail. I
No,
think that would be-
definitely.
that would be-
Because if they fail, we all fail, right? So
Exactly.
like, I'm not saying
Absolutely.
that to be disrespectful.
Yeah.
Please do not come for me, y'all. I love you. God bless you. But you know, just keeping it real, like
Yeah. In terms of individuals,
Right.
going back to the individuals, I don't think any of them ran without the intentions of I want to help my people. I want the best for the Cayman Islands, right?
Yeah.
But the unity just
it's just not there.
Yeah.
no, which led to what we
Yeah.
have seen these past
Yeah.
few years, unfortunately.
I gotta say though, I thought it really showed Juliana's mind for government, that she could pull a minority government. Like, hats off to her, because the numbers are all in the opposition, but for her to keep the power on their hands, if I had a hat, I'd take it off, but I don't. I will salute. Yeah.
Yeah.
I on her official like OTP Premier page, Office of the Premier Instagram, I always put like little salute emojis. Yeah, it can
Y'all
be
need a little
easy.
help.
It can be easy steering that ship.
yeah, no, honestly, and like I said, it's a really difficult job. So I'm not trying to
Yeah.
say that to be disrespectful to the magnitude of the situation, but just in general,
to have the entire fate of the country in your hands is no big deal.
Yeah.
That not no big deal. Boy, I can't even imagine.
yeah,
I can't even imagine.
yeah.
You keep on the bus. It's like the bus is like overheating, but we're almost at election day. So all we just need to do is get it at a hill, put it in neutral, and we'll just roll down.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like we just need to get
Just
through
make it
the
there.
election cycle, and let's see if we get a new bus. You know, maybe we'll get Lewis Hamilton driving in. You know what I'm saying?
Not to go. Don't bring an F1 because I get this a tangent. Sorry.
But I think we just need to get to election time, and then I guess we as a country, we will, I guess, decide what bus we want to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we just need to get there.
Yeah,
And,
definitely. And we will get there. I mean, ultimately, they're not going to let the government fall apart to the point where it's not functioning. But as it stands, they can't really be productive because there's no real, like, actual group, like, majority to
Yeah.
actually do anything. And they agree to that. So that's fine. You know.
How do you think this makes us look in the international stage? Because we may be small, but we're a global player.
Listen, that's why I said, like, within the last 4 years, we've had so much, like, instability in terms of the who's in the government. Like, we've had so many iterations of government. I'm like, I don't even know. So
I think people are definitely watching.
Definitely.
Because I remember like there was a running joke. This guy had posted something, I think on Instagram or something, when I was in university about when you hear Caymanians talk, you just hear the strong economy in their accent. Man,
I remember that. Yes.
Oh my god.
Where our accent reflects a strong economy.
Yeah. So there was
remember that
this
one.
running joke, man, that had taken me out. But honestly, like and just to see that, it's like regionally people are watching, you know,
Yes.
like we were known.
Yeah.
We're known. So
We are leaders in our region and in the small island space. So that's not to be taken lightly. Like
It's not to be
we
taken
can
lightly.
really step up to the plate and, you know,
Yeah. But I have high hopes
I do too.
that, you know, like this not lost, it's just a lesson. It really that simple. The people learned, our leaders learned, and it's going to look very different next year.
I agree.
And in this 4-year period, you didn't hear of like, for example, like the big 4 accounting firms going like, "No, we're out. This is too unstable."
No,
you didn't hear
no.
about anyone like, "Oh my goodness,
Nope.
I can't handle this. We're leaving." No, everyone was like, "Okay,
No.
this is a bad time, but we'll power through."
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of belief in the country.
Well, if one thing Caymanians gonna do is make do. We're gonna make
Yeah.
do with whatever situation is thrown
Yeah.
at us, and that's just how it is. And ultimately, I don't think any companies will really gonna leave here because money have to make.
I mean, even look at COVID. Like in the worst of times, Cayman still thrives. We
Exactly.
find a way.
We are very resilient
Yep.
people. I
Oh,
will say
yeah.
that.
Preach.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
What is your opinion? We'll start with you, Liani. What is your opinion on the PPM's tenure in opposition?
Oh, jeez. I think it's a reflection of this, just based on like what I've seen. It's kind of a reflection of who they've chosen to be a representative of them. You know, for going so long, you know, even with who they're bringing in right now, because they have additional candidates that they mentioned. You see some of them lingering around, and it's like, for me personally, like looking at them, I'm like, are these candidates actually like leaders? Are they actually people who stand for the community, or are you just trying to put a face there?
All
I
good
see what you mean.
questions.
Yeah.
All
You
good
know?
questions.
So that's a big thing for me. And even with them being in the opposition, I would like a little bit more push.
Yeah.
A little bit more push, a little bit more like speak up, like say something. You know,
And what I
that's what you're there
want
for.
is for them to stop arguing about foolishness while they're holding cabinet or whatever it is, the parliament, the seating of parliament. Stop talking about foolishness, because I actually have watched a few of those things and they literally just trash talk each other in the thing. And I'm like, guys, come on, you're supposed to be solving the country's problems.
Do you think they were watching the Kendrick and Drake beef and like, yo, we can replicate that here?
Hold my beer.
Yeah. I mean, I think they held it down in terms of just doing what the opposition is supposed to do. Could they have pushed back more? Absolutely. But again, I don't think they were really pushing against a fully functioning, united
Fair.
government. So how do you even oppose something that isn't
There.
even there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I think they're just in the cut, waiting. Like, yo, we're a party, we're ready to go. They're gonna.
Oh yeah,
fall.
they gonna capitalize on next
But-
year
Yeah.
big time.
But that's it. But
Yeah.
they were just waiting rather than. I remember the days of Arden and Ezard, and a lot of people will give them grief, and I did too during that time. But now that they're out of opposition, I miss them. They were amazing. They were on the radio. You know, they would go on tour. They'd go to every single community center and let their grievances be known. They'd really take it to the streets. And I feel like if PPM did that, I think
yeah,
they
they
would
were
be a
kind
stronger
of
party.
they were kind of quiet this year in
little too
particular, because
quiet.
you would think that okay, now is the time for us to really step up and say this is what we're doing next year. You know, we've seen that this doesn't really work. We're here to do XYZ and really just re-engage with the community
As
in
a
that sense.
long-standing party, like I don't know, I do expect more, man. As you've been there long enough, you've been in this game a long time. Like just me personally, I have my expectations for them are a little bit higher. Yeah.
No, they are, and not only are they a party, a long-standing party, but their members, their elected members, they're all community organizers and have been
Yeah.
for decades.
Yeah.
You know? They're-
I think there's a level of complacency that comes with that because they know by virtue of how things went the last 4 years that they already have the upper hand. So it's like, do we need to put in effort in that sense? I'm seeing some of it now, but I had wished I saw some more early in the year.
Because it's election time right now.
Right.
We're under half a year. We're under half a year.
Yeah. And so it does come across as very performative to
Yeah.
come out now and start doing the shows. And I saw the podcast, big up on ourselves. But like, just we could have been doing this from like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
What do you
know?
think of the podcast?
I thought it was good, you know.
Did you see Joey in that light before? I thought he was very relaxed. I thought it was interesting because all these times, all the politicians are so like politician, right? But here they were like, nah, man, I'm cool.
Well, the thing is, a lot of them can be really cool when they're ready, you know. Like it depends. I feel like they have different personas that they put on, and I kind of saw it with my uncle, not in a bad way, but like when he stepped into Ralston Anglin on the stage versus my uncle Raleigh. Like there's different versions of
Yeah.
him. You kind of have to tap into different versions of yourself to be what you need to be in that moment. And so in that moment, I think it made sense. So like I wasn't surprised in that way. And he seems like a very like confident, relaxed person. So that didn't shock me.
Yeah. One thing that I did enjoy seeing was that, you know, despite the fact that, you know, him and Kenneth sit on two separate sides,
Yeah.
there's a camaraderie that exists. Because again, going back to, they're all in there for the Cayman Islands, for our people, you know. So like to see like, all right, there's a camaraderie there. It's like, all right, there's hope.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
There's always hope. There's always hope, even in the darkest of days.
Yeah.
I'm a very optimistic person. I'm gonna keep it real.
Yeah.
I'm a real optimistic realist. Let's go with that.
Optimistic
Let's go with that. Yeah.
For me, what I loved about the live show is that Kenneth and Joey, as much as they're like political rivals, they sat next to each other.
Yeah.
We watched the U.S. election and not just the U.S.
Sure.
election, but a lot of other elections, European election, Canadian election. There's a lot of divide,
Yep.
active divide.
Yeah.
But for these two dudes, to call them dudes, for these two dudes to
Yep.
sit on the same
Dudes.
couch, shake hands, not insult each other,
Yeah.
Well,
talk cool. I was like, man, it really shows that, hey, we're a cool society. We're
Yeah.
not about this divide business.
Yeah, and it speaks to what we're so used to for the past 10 years underneath the Trump legacy, that we're so used to seeing division, that the fact that they shook hands was something to note.
Yeah.
20 years ago, that's just expected behavior of political people. Like, you're expected to carry yourself with decorum and with a sense of professionalism.
Yeah.
So the fact that like that is something that we're even like I mean, it is a good
Sure.
thing,
Yeah.
but like that should be expected.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we're going into the U.S.
Yeah,
part.
we need to,
because I got a lot of opinions there.
But also,
But-
as a teaser before there's still some more Cayman, but as a teaser before we get into the U.S., remember Cayman's January 6th moment, end of 2021 election, when all those people from different districts went to like East End and whatnot to make those people vote. Join
where they
the
were like
right
protesting.
government. Yeah. What was that? That was crazy.
What the one there in East End, Arden.
Isaac. When
Yeah,
Isaac beat Arden,
yes,
yeah.
yeah. Sorry,
Shout out
sorry,
Isaac.
East Enders. I love you. I love Anna. But yeah. I mean, it just
Yeah, they
goes
do.
to show when people say what they gotta say and they come out in numbers, they have to be listened to.
Yeah, but the whole thing was, and this is what I heard from East End, from the people, the beautiful, great, lovely people of East End.
Big up East End.
Big up East End. Oh my goodness, I love it. They best food.
Big up Miss.
That when he said, "Oh my goodness," that he will picture it,
Yeah.
he pictured the food. That
Yeah.
what happened.
Pink potato salad,
Big up Miss Permin. Them they know. Love on
barbecue
her.
chicken. Getting hungry. Oh my goodness, you can't even forget the desserts. Upside down pineapple.
We get
cake.
sidetracked.
Sorry.
But okay, so East End, end of 2021 election. Some people from somewhere on island got a bunch of people to go to East End to get Isaac to join the government they wanted. And East Enders were like, partner, you're not from East End. Like, we wanted Isaac. We voted for him. You know, he knows the decision he's going to make. We're cool with that. We voted for him. Who are you? And where do you get the audacity to come to our yard and tell us that we voted wrong or whatever?
Yes and no, because ultimately the decisions that whoever district representative makes impacts the entire island. So yes and no, they have a stake in it, but also they don't have a stake in it.
Do you think they should have texted their opinions rather than show up?
It wouldn't have been as impactful. I tell you that much.
Listen, when people are in a space and they make their presence known, there's a reason why protests literally create change. Like,
But you have to show up in numbers.
you have to show up in numbers, for it to work.
Don't do that in East End. Good people of activist Cayman, don't show up to the East End unannounced. Trust me. Listen, I was hearing from East Enders, like they were ready to throw down. They did not appreciate a bunch of
You don't just roll
outsiders.
up on EastEnders.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Even one thing I love about the Eastern districts is that sense of community.
Yeah.
You know, even if they
See,
don't,
they
Yep.
still have what
Yep.
I had in West Bay.
even if they
I'm
didn't
jealous.
vote for their man, you know, if he's an East Ender, he's with us. I may
Right,
not have
right,
voted for him,
right.
but after that, he's still one of us.
Yeah.
Shout out East End.
Shout out East End. I mean, love all the districts too, now, but
Shout out East End. All right, let's get into the shakeup. Recently, there was a shakeup in government where 3 ministers and 1 parliamentary secretary left. Before I pick up the article and read some points, Let's start with you, Rashana. What say you about the recent departure of 3 ministers and 1 parliamentary secretary from the UPM administration?
I made some notes in my notebook. I keep referencing my little notebook. It's cute.
It is cute. I gotta get one. Look at mine. Mine ain't cute. Mine is so.
So point A of that is literally independent governments don't work. Mm-hmm. And this is a result of that. So not quite surprised. But then point B, I was a little bit annoyed at first because we're like 6 months out from a general election. So I wasn't sure what point or what why now? Why was that impactful? Why did it make sense at this time down to the wire? Can we just not just keep it pushing, limp on to 2025, just keep it going? But after I listened to the town hall, I think I listened to about, I want to say 70% of it because I was actually at East End Heritage Day. Okay, shout out East End. So I actually turned on my good data and I was listening to it on my way down to West Bay. So I was listening to it for the most part and I could kind of see where they were coming from. I wish that they had spoke about these things sooner.
I agree.
That's the part of it, right? Because Andre's whole point was, okay, if we're not effective, if the system itself is not working, if the government is not working as a unit, it doesn't make no sense. That is essentially what his argument was. And I can understand that to a point, but also this is like, it's just been such instability for the past 4 years. I kind of wish that they had just stuck it out in that sense.
For the good of the country.
Yeah, just for like a
Just
like
get
a
to
optics
election.
thing. Yeah, because it's like 6 months.
And it would have been great drama during the election.
Yeah, because then they could have pulled these receipts then.
Yeah.
But also, I think they just should have been upfront when these
Yeah.
things were happening. Because it felt like blow after blow after blow of information, and like everybody in, like I saw the live stream, everybody was like what is happening here? Like this is insane information. So I don't know. I kind of have mixed feelings about it, but we'll see.
What say you, Liani?
At that point, I was so tired. I was so
Me.
tired, honestly. Man, again, going back to the hopes, you just have so much high hopes. You just wanting the best all the time. And then when things go very left, it's just like, oh, look, Kipple's done zero. Literally. But I mean, like, again, going to Rashana's point, like, I really do wish that they said something, you know, like a little bit sooner. But, you know, they did mention it, and I did listen to the whole thing. And when they were asked and confronted in a lot of those points, one of the things was it's almost like the shackles were off now. That they could speak freely, and I kind of wish I understood that a bit better. Like, what's the hold up in terms of you holding a seat of power and speaking versus, all right, now I'm on the opposition. Now I'm going to speak. I don't fully understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Me
so,
either.
Yeah, so that's what I would like to understand better. So, yes, by all means, like, all right, you all had like fair points in terms of what you all couldn't tolerate anymore, but why before you couldn't say it, you know? Yeah, that part I'm a little bit at loss for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to read a piece of this Compass article titled Rebel MPs Say Toxic Cabinet Forced Them Out by Raymond Haney. Shout out Raymond. It goes, 4 MPs who resigned from the government have launched a blistering attack on the administration, blasting a toxic and sexist cabinet that failed to act as a cohesive entity. The 3 former ministers, along with former Parliamentary Secretary Heather Bodden, said at a public meeting on Wednesday night, 13th of November, that cabinet members, including the Premier, had acted without consultation with colleagues and carried out private negotiations over the failed regen landfill deal with DART. Andre Ebanks, the former deputy premier in the UPM administration, said the move was the straw that broke the camel's back and sparked a wave of resignations. Ebanks also confirmed the group would form a new party and issued a clarion call to the audience at the Enough is Enough meeting to sign up. Among the litany of issues within cabinet that the group outlined at the meeting was a row of proposed changes to the National Conservation Act, which they had played a major part in their decision to break away. Other concerns include a lack of urgency in dealing with the erosion on 7 Mile Beach, delays in the opening of the Ponciana Mental Health Facility in East End, and the cost of the proposed new high school in Cayman Brac. Ebanks said after the meeting, "We are not dealing with a cabinet of individuals who come under an umbrella to work to forge an organization based on shared vision and values."
That last sentence summed it right up.
Yeah, I think that goes back to the whole thing we've been saying about independence.
Yeah.
They're just too, well, they're independent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, that's what you say to like some renegade teenager. Oh, they're in their independent phase, you know, they're 16.
Yeah.
Learning how to
like,
drive, so
because I
independent.
remember, right, like in the early 2000s, you had like 1 or 2 independents in the government.
Mm-hmm.
They were just there to kind of shake stuff up, provide a different perspective. That was the job of an independent, right? It was to kind of be like, well, have you guys thought about it this way? And, you know, maybe I agree with them, like just to kind of provide some guardrails. That was the point of an independent. But to have them all together, I think we've all seen that it doesn't work. So,
Yeah.
as we keep saying, but yeah.
No, for me, when it talks about the toxic and sexist cabinet, I would like to just see some correspondence, because this is top level of government. There are entities you can reach out to: the deputy governor's office, head of the civil service, governor, head of the civil service, attorney general's office. I'd just like to see some correspondence. And I'll tell you why. In the year 2017, I was working on a story where this former civil service says she was bullied out, and she wrote a letter to Franz Manderson explaining how she was being bullied and who was bullying her. And at the time, I was young. I didn't really understand it. But now seeing this, it's like, I understand why that lady wrote that letter now, to show, hey, on this date, I said this, and here's my proof. I'd just like to see, I'm not saying that this didn't happen. I'd just like to see some correspondence to show that they took actions towards that.
I agree. But I think one of the issues that we still need to resolve, which they had addressed in the town hall, was the what's it called? This, like, the Sexual Offenders Act or whatever, like that thing.
Yeah.
Sexual harassment bill.
Sexual
let me
harassment
see if I can
bill.
find it in this.
Apologies for my misspeaking of it, but you
That's all right.
know what I'm referring to.
Yeah, 1000%.
And so, because we don't even have a law in place that says how we deal with those things, what we could do with that information,
Yeah.
write it down in a letter and hope 20 years from now we can do something about it.
That's
Because I know most
an interesting point.
governance of that kinds of falls into like company policies and procedures
Yeah.
versus law.
Like, there's no law about how you actually deal with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it doesn't shock me, because we've been hearing this from different levels of government, from top up, down. And so, yes, I would like to see proof, but also there's no recourse for them to actually do anything about it. There's no structure of law that says, if you experience this, you take this and go to this person, and then they have an investigation. Like, there's none of that. That don't exist.
And there was I know when they were
So what do you do?
yeah.
It's interesting. Again, I guess two brains, two minds. Because yes, on one hand, but this is you are the government. You are legislators. Legislate.
Definitely.
But then again, the independent whole thing. You want to do one thing.
They couldn't get nothing done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I even, like, I submitted the survey, because they did like the public feedback survey about it, and I remember filling it out because I was like, this is finally gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like, I was so hopeful that we were gonna have
Yep.
a piece of legislation about what to do if you get harassed.
Yeah.
In that way.
Especially as woman, like,
Because punching in the face.
I'm exhausted.
That's an assault.
Yeah. So the fact that it didn't happen.
and we have so many women sitting in the house now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the governor is a woman.
Yeah.
Juliana?
I will say we are ahead in that regard, where we do give women the opportunity to actually take higher office
Yeah.
in our country. We are ahead in that regard.
Number one
Not just-
and number two in the judiciary are women.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like I do know that they did ask the question regarding like a lot of the things like why you didn't write to the governor, and it did highlight the fact that the governor can't really do a whole lot.
Yeah,
Like-
I think people think she can do more than she
can snap her finger and change things. Like, no,
she actually isn't allowed to get directly involved
Involved.
with certain things in Parliament, because that's a part of our understanding with the UK is that they cannot directly interfere with
Yeah.
our democratic process.
yeah, which is why it
So-
was a big deal when the
For the same sex.
yeah
Yeah,
that's why that was a big deal
Yeah.
because that had never happened before.
They had never exercised that
No,
right. Yeah.
never. Which is probably why she even more careful.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, but that did come up, and that was the response to it.
Yeah, because I remember they asked that question
Yep.
in the thing too, like, why didn't you go to somebody else about it? And they were like, she can't do nothing about
Yeah.
it. Not really.
Yeah, yep.
You know, I want to take this opportunity and say shout out Conversations, because like in my ideological bubble, everyone's like, yeah, why don't they fucking email this person and then do that? But now talking to you guys who are not in my ideological bubble, it's like, actually, yeah, that's an interesting point. I didn't think about that, because I'm just surrounded by, people who
Yeah,
think
and that's
similar
why
to
we
me.
have. That's why it's important to have discussions with
Yeah.
people and stay open minded.
Yeah.
It's really hard to be open minded because we all have our opinions and we all have
Especially
our
when
reasons.
emotions are involved.
Right, but to get anywhere, we gotta have these conversations, guys.
Yep.
We gotta talk.
So do you think they did the right thing and broke away to break away?
I mean, I
Who's
don't
to
think
say?
there's a right or wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is what it is,
Damned
and I
if you
think
do, damned if you don't.
yeah.
Yeah. Because I can't imagine, like, again, I can't imagine what it's like to be in that position.
And I'm sure we don't even know everything that
No.
occurred, right?
That we just know what they said, what
Right.
they
Yeah.
decided to tell us,
Yeah.
you know?
I want to read this quote from Sabrina Turner, former Minister of Health and Wellness. We weren't allowed to speak freely. If we weren't in line with a particular minister's paper, they would throw tantrums, storm out the room, and sometimes that means we lost a quorum.
See, that's the issue, because if you don't have enough people to actually do, like, you need enough people to say yay or nay or whatever, right? When they're passing these bills, you literally cannot function as a government. So you just go into work and you just not get nothing done. May as well quit. Low key.
Yeah, fair. Fair.
Yeah.
I think
Oh Lord.
for me, at the end of all this, I gotta say, no more independence from a party.
Facts.
Because I think, and also a party has infrastructure, like they
Facts.
have their own, in a sense, human resources, like
Yeah.
a whip who can,
Yeah.
put people in line, things like that. But independence,
Yeah.
it's just the Wild West.
Yeah.
And not to say no independence, period. No independent
Right.
government.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's
Because-
be clear
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
that.
The 2017 PPM-led coalition, they got
It was
stuff
alright.
done.
Yeah. They could have flexed.
Exactly. I remember during COVID, which was like peak PPM. I remember during COVID, they were like, "Yo, shout out John helping us with
With
these
the moon?
with these routes, getting
Then
stuff
with the moon.
getting stuff flown in." And I was like, "See, that's
Yes.
what coming together looks
Yeah.
like."
Right.
But John was at the time, well, he still is. Like, he was not a PPM member; he was an independent, but
Yeah.
he
Right.
worked
Close.
with them.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's the thing. There's a lot of different agendas. There's a lot of different egos. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
It's just life.
But
when it
we
come down
have
to
to
the
work
country,
together. We have
like,
to work
yeah.
together. Like, there's no alternative.
Yeah. The last thing I'm going to read on this is the new party, which is Ebanks confirmed the group planned a new party, but I don't want to emphasize just to be on a party. He explained it's time to mature the politics of this country, but it doesn't just happen because we label something a party. Once we have principled leaders with good governance who are willing to take the tough decisions in the overall interest of the country, that's what will move the country forward.
I can agree with that.
I can agree with that too.
There we go.
There we go. On to my next question. there's that feeds actually into my next question. So there's his party, there's the PPM, there's the Dan Scott group, there's the remaining members of UPM. That's 4 factions right there. I think we're gonna see a whole bunch of new people come in. What say you guys with all these new factions coming out? Half a year
I want
the
to
next
see what
election?
their manifestos say, then we can talk. For now,
Manifestos first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for their parties.
Yeah.
Like, what is it that their parties are doing and what are their goals? And then we can go from there. But as of right now, I have no opinions. They're going to be doing their trades and their deals to try to find out who can be on their team or whatever. That's all a part of the process, I'm sure. But until they get their plans in place for me to review, I will reserve my opinion.
Personally, I'd like to see them all on OC's show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in the mornings, and Sterling Dwayne Ebanks' show every day midday, because we're under half a year
Yeah.
to election day.
Yeah, they need to
wanna
be
know
involved.
Who you are?
Right.
I want to see you speak a couple times.
But they can't do that unless they have their set of goals.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So that has to come first,
Yeah.
regardless.
But it's like, for me, it's just insane that we're under half a year to election and we don't.
There's a lot of background stuff happening.
Oh, I'm
I'm
sure,
sure,
but-
that's
Yeah.
probably what it is too.
Yeah.
One thing I've said on Sterling's show, and I'll always say, is what does K-Man's Martin Luther King Jr. I Have a Dream moment look like? I have not heard anyone come forward with a new way of thinking, a new plan, a new direction, nothing. It just seems like,
We in a big.
Oh, we don't got a development
transitional-
plan?
Yeah, but we're in a big
So how-
transitional phase right now. Like
Definitely.
because we're coming from an era where everybody was fed up to the point we voted all independent.
Yep.
We watched again a lesson occur, right? And now this is another major transition from us. And
Yeah.
what you say, you gotta get ugly before you get better. Well, this
Yeah.
was ugly, and I hope the next is the better. If you see
Yeah.
what I'm saying. So in this phase, this will look very different than any election that we've ever seen
Yeah.
before.
I'm
in terms of like
hopeful.
how you said, we less than half a year and nobody's campaigning yet. You know,
Yeah.
like all these things are brand new, and not all of that. But you have to consider a lot of people are probably scared to come out right at the minute,
Yeah.
because of any malicious acts that may occur, or you know how it gets. Politics can get dirty.
but it's going to happen regardless. If I
think-
declare tomorrow, someone might call me, like.
But you won't put up with that for 6 months, or you won't put up with that.
I just
for-
think that they're still working out their party members. There's
Yeah.
a lot of
Fair.
there's a lot of negotiating happening right now, and I know that these negotiations can take literally weeks because you're dealing with several different groups now too, and not even just one or the other, where you have to debate with and whatnot. So
Yeah, there's a few.
I'm sure that they're just not prepared as yet. That's kind of what I'm.
Especially if they're new. Like I said, the PPM
Right.
has been established.
because they're bringing in a lot of
Right?
new faces as
Yeah.
well.
Right.
So they have to consider that as well.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. I folded this newspaper wrong. I'm just.
Not
oh
the
no, this is the
newspaper.
wrong newspaper. That's why. Yeah, I will. I will find it. But I mean, I am optimistic about the new candidates. I just want to have discussions of like, yo, I like this guy's housing plan. I think, yeah, maybe we should lower. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm just saying I'd like to see, at least the discussion of I want to lower import fees by 50% to ease the cost of living.
As a voter, you want more time to process.
Yeah, I want
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
hear these ideas debated.
I think they're gonna
Yeah.
kick off in January. They're gonna kick off after Christmas.
New year,
That is
new
thing,
party.
because they don't want stern no drama now because we know how we are over Christmas and very demure time, very, very mindful. Once January 1 hit, I wouldn't be shocked if everything
Everything
start
come
coming
out
out.
one lick.
Yeah.
January is gonna be a very eventful.
I'm looking forward to
Month.
it, man. I'm
Me
looking
too.
forward to
Me
it.
too.
I really am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gonna see them coming out at that point because now they're just getting themselves planned and like we in the planning phase, we in the pre-preparing phase. January come out fresh and strong, and you have just a few months to win your vote.
Yeah, but my fear is where were these people like last year? My whole thing is, yes, we all want change, but I for lack of better words, I guess it is my feelings, scared that people won't fully embrace the change because it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't. So it's like I'm going to stick with my guy At least I know I don't like him. You know, I don't want you to break my heart now.
I mean, maybe I'm just the only one who thinks this way. I just vote for the person who I think has the better principles and is taking me on the bus where I want to go.
Yeah.
So if it even is somebody new, but they're a part of a new party and I'm really invested in what they're trying to do,
Yeah.
I'm willing to go on that. Because
Yeah.
at least with the party, I have some kind of safety net of like, okay, at least I know their team working on XYZ.
Yeah.
So I gonna have to trust the party
Yeah.
structure. That is the safety net that you have
Yeah.
to trust at that point. Not necessarily that you don't know the people.
Yeah.
What do you guys look for in a candidate? Nothing. Good jokes.
Bruh, that's why
A
I'm
good sense of
looking
humor?
forward to this election
smile?
because I know for me, I didn't feel like I had the best options.
Can I ask what?
See, I'm going to refrain from saying.
I know
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
We say plead the fifth.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Well,
For
I'll
me,
just speak from my example. Going back to Bodden Town West, a community I love dearly. I'm an undecided voter. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling the way things are going. I think things could be a lot better. And Chris is a smart, capable, good guy. I don't know. I think he watches too much westerns and he's just some low
Not the westerns.
some lone ranger legislator in his dark corner just writing with like a feather pen. You know, that's that's the way I look at him. Like I
Yeah.
want a team player.
yeah.
You know, but
I mean, for me, accountability,
yeah.
integrity, get the stuff done, follow through, and put the country above your own agenda, your own personal needs. Big ask, I know, because there's a lot of temptations, there's a lot of money to be made with different deals and whatnot, I'm sure.
Well, that's corruption.
We not go there. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
We don't know what happens in the background, but I'm just saying, like, at the end of it, put the country's needs above your own.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see more of.
Character is going to be a big
Character,
thing.
integrity, accountability.
Yep.
So that's what I look for.
One thing I'm not going to name his name, but in the 2017 election, I was at a rally and I was speaking to the guy and I was like, you know, what are you going to do for the people? He's like, anything they want me to do, like I'll do. And I wanted to ask, but I was in a professional capacity at the time. So it's like, so if I want to build a space station, you going to let me do that? Like, what is this? Anything you want to do, I'll help you. Foolishness. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
don't kiss my ass. You
With
know
that,
what
why
I'm
they
saying?
need them manifestos? I telling you.
No, because at the end of the day, too, it's like, especially as a leader, like, sometimes you might be in a position where not good or bad decision. You just got to make a decision.
Right.
Yeah. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Literally.
One thing I'm a big fan of Juliana about is she's got a bit of a Margaret Thatcher vibe about her, as in public opinion doesn't really sway her. Like, she knows what she needs to do. And if like 90% of the people are like, no, she'd be like, listen, I know it's yes. Like, I can take the no's. I know it's yes.
And that's why character is a big thing.
Yeah.
Character is a big thing. Who are you before you have this position? Who are you when nobody looking?
Yeah. Integrity.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point. I don't think about these things. I just want to read from this. Deeper, am I on camera? All right. So here we have the Cayman Compass in Cayman's House of Cards.
Ooh.
Who has the winning hand? And you see a whole
Not the
bunch
deck of cards.
Yeah, you see a whole bunch of things. You've got Johan Moxham, friend of the show. Shout out Johan. He let me know he watches the show. I saw him at Hurley's.
Oh, okay.
And I was like,
Hi.
yo, you should come on.
I don't even know who's watching. Hi, whoever's watching.
I was like, yo, you got to come on the show. And he's like, yo, I can't invite myself. So I was like, I get you
Touche.
on there. But he's
Yeah.
got a question mark by his card. So it's like, He didn't lose by much
Yeah.
against Joey.
You could see some people coming back who had previously run
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be shocked about that.
I don't know why there's a question mark by Wayne's.
Well, it
Okay.
said in the article that he
Listen.
hasn't declared his affiliations as yet.
Let me tell you something about the Wayne Panton community machine. The Wayne Panton Heather Bodden community machine. As a man who lives in the Eastern Districts, they are building parks throughout the district. They are they are grassroots in the community. They beat their the people they lost to in 2017, they actually, okay, next they take the Savannah Rubis. On the left side, there was a pink house. That was Alva and Anthony's office. On the right side, there's another house, and that was Heather and Wayne's office. Left side was elected, right side was not, and right side beat left side. So it just showed how hard they work in the community. Heather puts on the Halloween. A lot of people give Heather grief, like, Heather's this, Heather's that. Where were all the kids in the Eastern Districts at Halloween? They were at Heather's house. You know, like they are deep in the community, and because of that, good luck to anyone running against them. They're not budging. So I don't understand why there's a question mark against Wayne. Anyone who lives in the Eastern Districts, no, he's
I
running
think it's
again.
just they're just talking about the parties, like
Yeah.
what he's gonna affiliate himself with. I think that's the question mark.
They put a K by Chris, but again, I'm not. I personally wouldn't put a King by Chris because Chris is a lone ranger legislator.
Would you put the J?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would. I mean, he's up. He's a smart guy and all, but
Big
I
up,
just,
Chris. I joking.
I'm just not feeling the John Wayne.
Yeah.
You know, I'm preferring. You ever watch like the A-Team? I'm feeling the A-Team. And that's the type of vibe I want in government. It's
Yeah.
the A-Team.
I just
or like
need-
Mission Impossible.
We just need
Not John
like
Wayne.
the Avengers to come in.
Yes, the
and
Avengers.
just like do what they gotta do. Save the Cayman Islands, please.
Yeah. I want to read from this New Kids on the Block. One of the worst kept secrets in Cayman is that former EY partner Dan Scott, who has previously chaired the Education Council, is putting together a new party. Scott is likely to run in Cayman Brac East, a seat which O'Connor Connolly won last time in a 2-horse race against Elvis McKeever. Shout out Elvis. I
Shout
haven't
out
forgotten
Elvis.
about you.
Shout out Elvis.
He was supposed to come on the show, but we had some, but we had some technical, we had something to do and
Okay.
we haven't fully rescheduled, but we will.
Okay.
Big up Elvis.
Big up Elvis, great guy. I want to play my drums. That's what he said. He's, I want to play my drums in the house. Like, yeah, for sure.
Bad still.
Yeah, man. Former Olympic cyclist Craig Marin, businessman Gary Runny, bank executive Carmen McField, who has also been on numerous government boards, are inked in as part of Scott's team. A handful of other names have been mentioned in connection with the group of around 15 potential candidates, including some in high-profile private sector jobs who are expected to officially commit closer to election.
Right. So that's what I was talking about, where it's like they doing a lot of negotiating, dealing in the background because people have jobs, people have
Yeah.
Lives. Yeah.
and so should they even decide not to do it again, if they get their names pulled out now, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it
What is
just
the
gonna
backlash?
Pull
involve
into HR
them.
meetings and
Yeah.
They just gonna involve them and stuff. So once they're solidified, I'm guessing those names that just, you know, they are solidified members of this proposed party. So yeah, I would love to see a fly. I would love to be a fly on the wall in some of these negotiation
Same.
meetings. This must be so interesting.
But one thing that stood out to me is these people in high profile jobs, because it's once you're in political life, like the return after
Hey, rough.
right, if you quit your job and you lose, what do you do? You know what I mean? The new party in power might not like you. I mean, you would hear stories. I don't think it happens too much now, but you hear stories back in the day, like, oh, you get blackballed, things like that. So it's like they're making like big like life decisions. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I am this person. I'm doing well now, but I'm going to give it all
we've
up.
had a few people who have done that. I mean, my uncle included. Like once he stepped away, he ended up doing his own business, his own entrepreneurship opportunity.
Junk, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he does, and he also does Pointer Consulting. So that's like his accounting consulting side of it. And then you have people like Tara Rivers, for example, who once she lost, she didn't go back.
Oh, she
again.
retired.
So
She didn't lose. She was like, I'm going to lose, but I'm
yeah.
not
So I mean,
gonna
like,
lose.
there's people who have left the political scene to do other endeavors, and I think it depends on how you kind of network yourself before you leave and during your tenure, just to be like,
Yeah,
still
it's-
keep those bridges open.
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
burn them.
Yeah.
Yep. Most definitely.
Yeah. I mean, it is a gamble, right? Because you could really not, and like suppose you're a partner of a law firm
Yeah.
and you go out for election and you lose, I'm sure that they're gambling, essentially that.
But they know the risk that they're
They know
taking.
the risk.
They know the risk that they're
And
Yeah.
also during election season, it can get so nasty.
Ooh,
One thing I
child.
will say about someone who's
You better
worked,
clean out them skeletons.
one thing I've learned working in politics, K-Man politics since 2017, is like the closer you get, the uglier it gets. It can
Oh,
get
yeah.
real
Yeah.
nasty. And with that, it's like if you're, let's say you're being like constantly smeared and it's all lies, but everyone believes it's true. Like, how do you move forward? Like you've been smeared in the public sphere for a couple months. Like that's in people's psyche. Hey, you're that guy that allegedly pooped his pants. Like, no, I didn't.
True, touche. So it's like a public relations thing almost. Like they
Yeah.
have to be aware of their own personal brand and to make sure that
Yeah.
they manage that
Mm-hmm.
alongside their
Yeah.
political career, which is where the whole thing comes in about putting the country above your own needs. Like even if it might hurt your chances of getting a job after you lose an election or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it's still gonna matter that you did the right thing.
Yeah.
People go check that.
Speaking of the right thing, another thing that stuck out, it's like, yeah, you've got all these people who are like making the decision. Because one thing I can't stand about fly-by-nights is like, let me just take a gamble. Let's just run for election. If I win, if I don't, it was something to do. You know what I mean? I'm not going to name names, but let's just say there was a certain B team, and for me, they were just playing Rockstar. Like, you're going to find us here and there, and come out and support us. And it's like, brother, I'm at home. Come knock on my door. Like, I'm not interested in you, and you're clearly not interested in me because you're playing Rockstar. You're here, you're there. You're not going door to door. Yeah, but I think all these, if high-profile people are looking to be like, no, I got to put my affairs in order because I'm running.
Yeah.
I think that shows there's a massive shift in like K-Man's establishment.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, I got to get in there now. Like,
Yeah.
I've been on the sidelines too long.
Yeah.
I'm not asking the coach to put me in. I'm
Yeah.
putting in myself.
But that's the thing. I think people are now at the point where we I don't know if we said it before we started or just as we started, where it's like we're tired of we telling people to vote, but we need the people. We need the people to vote for.
We need good candidates.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Candidate. Oh my goodness.
And that candidate can be
What was it
somebody
called?
watching right now.
Yeah.
Just like
Candidate. Just good candidate. I forget the word, but yeah, good candidates. You don't
Yeah,
want to
just
look at this and go, oh
good
my goodness,
options.
him?
Yes.
Like, no way.
Good options,
Yeah.
people that have done good things in their career,
you a
people of
person of
integrity.
good character, you
Yeah.
built the community, go ahead, get signed up to actually become a candidate.
Oh yes.
You might be the change this country needs.
Yeah. Speaking of change, if things don't change, what happens to K-Man?
Massive brain drain because
It's already
Jesus.
happening.
It's happening, but it's gonna be so much worse. It's gonna be so much worse, man. I know so many people who like I said, they've already left, and I know more people who want to leave. Like they just can't do it anymore.
Where are they leaving to?
The UK, US, Canada.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, those are the three massive places they're going to. Yeah.
What about you, Rashana? What say you? Things don't change. What happens?
Well, we obviously continue down the road that we're going, which we all know is not a road we want to be going down. In any case, we're not gonna have a 7 Mile beach no more.
Yeah.
And we need to actually deal with the issues because the issues not gonna stop being issues.
No. Every day that's
So-
beach erosion.
You'll just see the natural consequences of things happening if we don't address them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry to cut you off, but if you look at the decline of 7 Mile Beach, that's I think I was listening to that. There's an economist, I forget her name. There's an economist from Trinidad that every now and again she goes on Sterling Dwayne Ebank's show, and she was explaining that it's right now $1.5 billion of real estate is impacted because of the missing beach. And it's like, dang, $1.5 billion. Like, what about the rest of the beach? What happens to these new developments if the beach goes?
And that's the thing. And I mean, I just gonna call a spade a spade. You're addressing the 1.5 million, but you're not addressing the fact that the 1.5 million caused the issue. When
Oy.
you pull out
Jaja.
the amount of vegetation that exists, everybody wants to talk about the current pulling sand away and bringing it back. But when the sand gets pulled away and don't have no root system to come back to, it's gone. It's gone. So yes, like if you're gonna talk about the problem, talk about the whole problem.
Not just cherry picking the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
The money side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how we got to this problem?
Yeah.
That's essentially what it
Because
is.
are we gonna
what the
continue down the road?
right, because you can't solve a problem unless you address the root of the issue. You just keep band-aiding
Yeah.
and band-aiding.
I think we're out of band-aids, to be honest.
Yeah. If you got a bullet in you, you got to take the bullet out, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before you can sew the stuff up. Like,
Clean it up and then sew it up. Yep.
But do you think we're going to using your bullet, full of analogies tonight,
Yes.
but we're using your bullet wound, is the bullet wound infected? Would you say?
That's why it gotta be cleaned up.
yeah, it's starting to get infected. Let's
Starting to
put
get
it that way.
infected.
Yeah.
We need to fix that
The
beach.
last 4 years.
And then not just the beach. Like,
No, that's just one example.
We've had
Yeah.
our mangroves torn out. We've seen our fisheries decline. We've seen, man, I can't even count the amount
There's
of things
so many
environmentally
issues
that
at
has
this
gone
point.
through. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
so many.
But the environment needs to start to be protected. Starts with a plan.
Plan.
Starts with a plan.
Development plan.
Yep.
Whoever put that on their manifesto, you got me.
Yeah. But also go out and debate it. Share it. One thing, oh my goodness, one thing I truly admired about Arden McLean and Ezard Miller during their tenure as opposition is they would go everywhere to tell you exactly what they thought.
They were chatting by.
Yeah, I loved
Yep.
it. You want to talk about transparency? That's it. They would, they'll go anywhere. They're not going to stay in their, write little press releases. No, they're hitting the roads. They're on this show. They're on that show. Let it
Yeah.
be known. I miss those guys.
I mean, I like
They were
literally, I
renegades.
grew up with that. Like, I literally remember going with people on my uncle's like campaign team to go and like knock on people's doors and like hand them the thing. Like, I used to carry the manifesto stacks and be like, here you go. And then they'd be like, this is who, your candidate is. And, do you have any questions? Like, I was a part of that, seeing the grass roots part of it as well. So like that stuff matters. Like, people want to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
You have any stories around that time?
I mean, I was quite young.
Anything memorable stick out to you that you I'll never forget when it happened?
I mean, I remember sitting up and listening to the radio, because at that point, that was the best way to get the information what came on 27 of the results. They would count the results out as it came out. So it was either the radio or back then when they had came on 27 on the TV. Shout out came on 27. R.I.P.
I cried that day.
I used to stay up all night, midnight, until this stuff came in. So like, and then I had school the next day. I remember that. I was at somebody's house. And it was like middle of the night and they just waiting for the results to come in. And then I'm literally like 7 years old at this point. And I'm like, oh, this is exciting. Like, okay, cool. Like, I'm with the adults. And like, my mom was like, yeah, you could come just for one night, It's a special occasion, so I'll let it slide. But like, just staying up and hearing the results come in was something that was interesting. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. For me, if things don't change in Cayman, what happens to Cayman? I would say, I call it third world Monaco. I mean, you see, look in the canal communities, those homes are beautiful. You bring in a Lamborghini and whatnot, that's what I think about 100% duty on that. It's a couple $100,000 in that car, and then you got to pay that again just to drive it in these shores. And then you have extreme poverty. One thing I cannot stand, but honestly, I'm part of the same hypocrisy because I can't think of better words, is the importation of poverty. These I shouldn't say low skill, these low paid workers, it takes out any debate for minimum wage, because it's like, why should I pay you $8 when I can screw John out of his $4 an hour salary? Well, who's
Capitalism.
He gonna go to?
Welcome to capitalism.
I would say those are the failures of capitalism.
Yeah.
But it's just, and another thing, speaking of the failures of capitalism, what's up with 3 months maternity leave?
Hello.
Like 3 months, not even 100 days.
You know what? Shout out to Bethany. She know who she is. She's been spearheading that movement, the parental leave movement, with government, and I think they had extended it for civil servants. They got that much done, but obviously with everything with government going to shambles, can't do very much.
Yeah.
But
at least they got-
there are people who are working on that
Yeah.
actually. So shout out,
It's needed.
Bethany Ebanks.
A full year. In Austria, where half my family's from, my half-sister, she got a full year when her child was born. And then her husband, he got it the year after. So you have maternity, and this is Austria. You have maternity and paternity leave. And I think about that because it's like, what is that society, what is that government saying? It says, we want you to have a family. We
Yeah.
want you to raise your family.
Yeah.
Be with your child. But here, 3 months, dog, not even 100 days? What are you doing? Like, what are we saying?
Well,
And-
societies are built on families, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not pouring into the family unit, you're gonna end up with what we got now, which is people stressed out, depressed, anxious, high. So
Hello.
yeah.
And then you have declining birth rate, and then the cost
Yep.
of living. It's
Yep.
like, boy, I can't do this
all
because
these compounding issues.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for single mothers because of this 3 months rule.
Yeah.
You know, like now you have to find some nanny, some stranger to your newborn child, not even
Yeah.
100 days, and you got to put it in some stranger so you can go to work and your salary ain't increasing, but your bills are increasing, and you got to pay diapers and nanny, and it's like, what the heck? What are we saying?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just gonna keep every time like I hear a different issue, it goes back to plan. Yep, everything goes back to plan because sustainability. Most people don't realize sustainability isn't just environmental. You know, sustainability is environmental, social, and economic.
Yeah.
Right. When the three communicate under the form of a national plan,
Right.
we gonna see changes. We gonna see things that actually make sense.
There we go.
Let us move to our friend up the road, the USA. Recently, the USA held one hell of an election.
Not the breathe.
What do you think that means? What do you think the recent U.S. election results mean for our beautiful Cayman Islands?
I skimmed the article that was in the Compass when it came out, and it doesn't seem like it would be too impactful. It could actually impact us indirectly through the whole tariff situation. You and
Yeah.
I had a conversation
Yes, we
about
did.
that because we import our goods from
Majority of them.
the USA. And so if they are imposing tariffs on other countries where they import stuff from, it's going to be more expensive for us.
Oh, yes.
So I don't think people realize how the tariff system works, but ultimately
You wanna
the
break it
person
down?
on the end is who foots the bill. Like, that's how it works.
The end consumer.
Yeah.
My daughter got saying he said the U.S. sneeze, we catch a cold.
Yeah, like what they do impacts us because we're very interconnected as far as tourism, as far as
Investments.
Even education. A lot of our Caymania students go to the to U.S. schools, and just their policies impact life here as well. So definitely, it's an impact for us for sure.
I don't know if you guys import things on customs, but the first country is like, where did these goods come from? It's not in alphabet. I mean, the first thing is USA, and then it's in alphabetical order. But it's like, we're just going to save you some time, but US at the top.
Yeah, and so, but where do the USA get those items from?
Yeah, a lot of them.
That's what people are missing. Like a lot of the stuff that we buy from the States aren't made in the States.
No.
They're made elsewhere. And so for them to make more of a profit, they have to increase the price on us. So things gonna be more expensive. Sorry for say.
Yeah. It's
Certain things, I should say,
Yeah.
not everything.
magic wand time. Let's say you were elected, West Bay, whatever. What would you do to circumvent this? Would you look at like Jamaica and Honduras and be like, yo, should we look
Well,
more regionally for trade, or what would you
I
do?
mean, because in the article that I had read, it was by someone who like works with Compass, and they had kind of spoke about that. We don't just import from the U.S., which is why I said it will affect us, but not entirely, because we do import from like Mexico and like Latin America, like other neighboring countries, Jamaica, obviously. So that wouldn't apply to us. I would say it just brings home the point that we need to have our own resources. We need to do our own agriculture. As like, I know we can't do all of it, but
We can do something.
we can do something, right, to fend for ourselves. Should things really get to that point? Because
COVID, we saw it too.
hello. So I mean, if we're depending on countries all the time, you know what I mean. So I think it just brings that back to the forefront of my mind as well. Being self-sustaining.
Yes. We are coming. What I like to think of podcasting as like a flight, and we are in the descending
Love it.
part.
I love living.
I love a good landing. Yeah.
Yeah. but before we start the descent, culturally, what do you think the U.S. election? What do you think the influence of the U.S. election is in Cayman?
I think they have more of an influence on us than we actually realize.
Correct.
Because we've changed so drastically. We used to be so community focused. We used to barter. We used to check on our neighbors. Like there was more of a balance versus like now we're so heavily commercialized.
Which is a very American way of life.
Yeah, very much so. So I think we're heavily influenced by them. Heavily influenced by them. And as we see, unfortunately, maybe not right away, but in due time, whatever they're doing over here, the mindsets, not only that, but this is separate from politics, but people don't realize that programming and learning isn't just what you do in a classroom. It takes place with the music that you listen to.
Right, the media you consume.
The media you consume.
Yeah.
So your Instagram feed, all these different facets of
And
streams of knowledge.
We are fed stuff from America.
You are
Largely.
programming your mind.
Yeah.
So culturally, we are going to change based on what we're being fed in terms of your eyes, your ears from the U.S. So yeah, you will see a shift. Maybe not today, tomorrow, but give it a few years.
Yeah.
I gotta ask, since we get so much culture from America, what can we do in Cayman to strengthen our own culture so that we can at least look at America and go, I'm not going to fully accept that because around here, you know,
But
we go.
Cayman history
That be-
back in schools,
Absolutely.
please.
Yeah.
Please, I don't understand how it managed to come out, but it need to go back in.
Yeah, and just before I get to you, Rashawn, I just want to say we learn about World War II, but we don't learn that Roddy Wattler found a Nazi spy in these Cayman Islands. Where's that lesson? That's Wattler's Road. That's history. That's history right there.
Yeah.
I don't know. What say you, Rashana?
We got off on a tangent, but the original question was
Culturally, the U.S., what cultural impacts does the U.S. election have in our society?
right. So, like Leonie said, we are heavily impacted by the U.S., by the media we consume. We listen to a lot of American music. We watch a lot of American shows, Netflix, YouTube, blah, 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 you name it. We're very Americanized in Cayman. And our way of life in terms of the corporate structure that we have in Cayman is very like work first and then family maybe.
Family, maybe.
Literally.
Family maybe.
Literally.
So
Pay bills before.
yeah, and so what I've seen, especially in the last 10 years since Trump has been a thing, because I was away when he was elected. I was actually in school.
Were you
I
in the States?
Yeah, I was in the States. I was in
Yeah.
Orlando, going to school at the time that he was elected. So
That's
I
2016?
Yeah. And so I saw the firsthand effects of just the feeling of like defeat from people. Like people were scared.
Yeah.
People were.
Caribbean students didn't leave
I
their
was scared.
dorms.
I was scared because I was
Yeah.
like, well, I don't know if they could come for me or like I'm here
Yeah.
legally, but then you know, like
Yeah.
But with all this not so much pro, but all this anti-immigration rhetoric,
And-
you don't think...
yeah.
I can, sorry to cut you off, but I can relate because being Austrian, where that country is going through some turmoil with immigration and integration. Long story short, the far right is capitalizing on it and
yeah.
dividing.
Yeah.
And look at me. Who do I look like? Do I look like your traditional Austrian or do I look like more of an immigrant?
Right.
Even though culturally I was born there, speak the language.
Yeah.
First glance, I'm the enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. In terms of just picking that back up now, I forgot what I was saying. What was I?
U.S. and
Yeah. So when Trump was elected, there's been this shift in hatred politics.
Yes.
And hate is very tempting. It's very
It's contagious.
seductive. It's very contagious because it's a really easy way for you to scapegoat your problems by just being like, it's this group's fault or it's this group's fault. And it's like, actually, the fault lies with the people who didn't plan properly. But anyway,
The man in the mirror.
right? So it's very easy to fall into like this hate and like this misery loves company thing. And so I've seen a little bit of it here. I'm hoping that I don't see too much more. In this recent election, I saw a lot of like just vitriol online, like even from
U.S.
people,
election.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even people in Cayman agreeing with Trump. And I'm like, what? Like, that's not like, this is not the Cayman I grew up with. Like, we loved our neighbors.
No.
We shared our resources.
Yep.
We never looked at somebody and said, well, oh, you an immigrant, so I not give you no bag of sugar.
You gonna give matter of fact, they cuss about them and then go and bring them food.
Right. So like I just like that's the part that really scares me in terms of like this far right stuff. Like it's very hate filled. It's very like they cloud it as conservativeness. I went to church at Wesleyan. That's conservative. What they doing now, I don't know what that is. That's some extremist stuff that they doing on that side of the world, and I don't want that to come to this beautiful island. And yeah,
For me, it's, let's say you start to hear some rhetoric, right? But it's almost like, oh, I can go further. I'm protected because like the leader of the country, he speaks this way. That means I can
right.
take it further.
You're emboldened.
You're emboldened. My last question, well, to my two last questions are, politics plays a big role in society, but what can the community do?
Ooh, I love that question. And I think like both, not to like toot our own horns, but me and Rashana can definitely speak to that because we're active in the community every day. She's a massive like influence in terms of mental health and advocating for it and the work that she's done with various organizations and using her platforms to speak, right? Like I think that people realize, or they fail to realize how much influence they have within their world, meaning who is right in front of you, your friends, your family. You can impact them, right? Let's branch off a little bit. Your community. Me, I'm big in terms of sustainability, right? I will walk down my road and hear somebody in my own car go, well, why the government don't hire somebody come clean up these roads? Bro, park my car at my house, walk down the road, pick up the garbage, come back and be like, was that so hard? Was that so hard? You have the power to actually go out and make these changes. Why are you relying on the government to do it? You know, and I mean, like, even like, I use Michael Miles. Well, what's his institution called again?
Inspire came on.
Inspire came on. Like, homeboy saw a problem and went out and decided, you know what? Trade's not taught in school. Cool, fine. I gonna go fix it.
Yeah.
Shout
right?
out Michael.
So
I like that guy a
if
lot.
you have more power than you realize. Everybody
Yeah.
got Instagram. Everybody got TikTok. Go in there and speak.
Yeah.
Say whatever you
Mobilize.
Got to say. Yeah. Join an organization.
Join organizations. Join movements. If there's not one that you see that's currently available,
Create one.
create it. And just like the power of a grassroots movement speaks volumes and is definitely not to be ignored.
Yep. Yep. And people will want to join you too.
Yeah.
Like people, when they see you doing something good, they gonna want to help you and they gonna want to join you.
Yep.
Do you think that comes from leading by example?
Yes. Yes. Like you said, the change starts with the man in the mirror.
Yes. My final question, is there hope?
Absolutely, 100% yes.
Always.
Always.
As long as the sun gonna keep coming up, there's always hope.
Nice. And finally, would you like to leave some advice, some words, maybe an inspirational quote you saw to the audience?
Dang. Register to vote if you are between the ages of 18 to 24. I love you. Please register to vote.
Before
do not-
January 15th.
Right. Before the deadline. Do not give up hope. Your vote matters. And I will leave it there.
Yeah. You got some words for the people?
Double down on what Rashana said. Definitely register to vote. And not only that, but going back to what I said just before, you are the change that you want to see within your immediate community and the entire Cayman Islands. And we don't know what God got planned for you, but that might branch off to other countries. So whatever it is that you have inside you that you know that you should be doing right now, whatever that is, go out and do it. Especially register to vote.
Nice. Am I on camera? Stay classy, San Diego. No, that's not my final words. My final words is, if there's anything that you learned from this, it's have a plan. Because if you fail to have a plan, you are planning to fail. And case in point of what you've shown us today, and I just want to take this time and shout out the Caymanian Times. Warning, no beaches, no tourism.
Fox.
This is a paper that will never write anything controversial, and that's just who they are. You can't blame them for that. But if they're going to raise alarm, we are in some interesting times.
SOS.
SOS. It will be an interesting election. There is change on the horizon. Don't give up on hope. Things are looking tough, but pressure creates diamonds, and we are resilient people. We survived Ivan. We survived the 2008 financial crisis. We survived Gilbert. We survived Paloma and COVID. You can't defeat us so easy.
Yep.
The Cayman Islands is here forever. And with that, you are listening to World Talk. Tune in next time. All right, Mr. Producer. There you have it. Now we can go.